Hello indie game fans, since we already have done so for Metroidvania, action adventure and action platformers, the next logical step in this mini-series would be Action Rogue-lite, a genre that has blown up in popularity in recent years, but interestingly has a whole bunch of titles currently in early access. With SYNTHETIK 2 coming out next week, here's a look at the top 10 upcoming games that I'm most excited about. Let's begin with TombStar, a space western entry where you play as a gunslinger entering a forbidden star system in order to bring a criminal gang to justice. There's something fantastic about the cowboy western theme but in space, where the addition of aliens and futuristic weapons to the classic Lone Ranger setup is pretty intriguing. It also comes to us from the developer of Crossy Road, so I'm interested to see if they bring anything new to the table. A long in development title that I've had my eye on is Fabular Once Upon a Spacetime, primarily due to the art, which looks cool, but also due to the fact that you control a ship that has arms and can use melee weapons. Unsurprisingly, the idea behind this is Middle Ages fused with futuristic technology, so medieval knights clashing in armoured spaceships, which is one cool idea. There is an FTL-like star map as you advance from one area to the next on your quest to save your kingdom from the Void Lords who stole the sun. In modern roguelite design, it adds a meta layer of progression with permanent upgrades with a number of different characters and ships to pilot, giving it the variety. This video is kind of brought to you by Hades, launching on PlayStation and Xbox this week. The godlike roguelite is supremely well written and scored, being a cleverly designed title that evolved the roguelite genre by bringing in an adaptive narrative over the course of multiple runs, which, in addition to the core action and upgrades, just feels so good to play. Alongside the ports is the physical releases brought to you by Private Division, where I was given one such copy for PS5, which includes a metallic foil cover, an art compendium, and a downloadable code for the soundtrack, making it ideal if you love your physical editions. The console versions will run at a targeted 1080-60 on PS4 and 4K60 on PS5, with enhanced controller vibration and lighting on the PS5 DualSense controller. And now that it's out on all platforms, you have no excuse not to pick up my personal Game of the Year 2020. Another title that cropped up a number of times on the channel is Ember Knights, a pretty straightforward entry where you're delving into various keystone worlds in order to stop the Mad God's tyranny. As with most roguelites, the story isn't the strongest feature, but the pixel art and action looks great, so of course I'm in. Also, co-op does seem to be one of the focus points of this game, where I'm particularly interested to see how this affects the design overall. Another long in development title is Boyfriend Dungeon, a visual novel roguelite hybrid, where the weapons in this game transform into cuties. It does look like the relationship system in Hades taken to another level, but the visual novel and choices aspect looks interesting and could potentially open up the genre to a whole new bunch of people. It also opens up the doors to some clever writing, such as Blades spelled B-A-E, so come on, what's not to love? A smaller title that I also have my eye on is Elsie, not my first choice for a name, but this pixel art roguelite platformer does look fantastic. It's a run and gun roguelite with a ton of projectiles on screen, so much so that it can be a little hard to read, but it is precisely because of that reason that it looks fun. I love it when roguelites allow you to mix and match upgrades and to stack relics to get that overpowered combination, where it does look to be present here as indicated in the top right. This, in addition to a perk system and the ability to have orbiting drones helping you, results in the chaos seen on screen. Lovely little title which has the potential to be great, making it one to watch, so do drop them a wishlist. Some of you may recognize The Last Stand as a series of side-scrolling zombie survival defense flash games, where the fifth entry, named Aftermath, is a fully featured action roguelite, coming to us from the same developer who made the original in 2007, so again, another example of an indie developer with longevity. Yes, while zombies may be out of vogue for now, I do have a soft spot for zombie titles where the combination of survivor permadeath, the intense survival and action elements, as well as gorgeous visuals makes this of interest. The latest update from the developer in June is that development is going well with the finishing touches being put on the game, so hopefully this will launch soon. Of course, the amazing 3D action roguelite Metallic Child gets a spot, having made my previous upcoming roguelite videos, and comes to us from a Korean developer who also made the action title Smashing the Battle. Play as an android who has to defeat a bunch of robots in order to stop the plot of her own creator, where on top of the regular action in attacking enemies with weapons, we are also able to grab enemies, use them as a shield, and to throw them as weapons. It has one of the most impressive 3D visuals, combining flashy effects with impressive action, such as the change in perspective to first person when firing at weapons, as well as the side-scrolling look of the boss fight. Awesome 2D art as well, where if the localization is done properly, could have an intriguing meta story where you, the gamer on Earth, is somehow part of the narrative as well.
In the pursuit of immortality, I evoked a ritual of ascension. However, the Church of Solar lay in wait. Their meddling trapped me in infernal torment. Years later, and more powerful than ever, I have returned.
The idea of an action-adventure game where you play as a necromancer in some sort of horrible Pikmin game is not new. See Undead Horde or Sea Salt, for example, but the Unliving did get my attention due to the roguelite structure as well as the pixel art. The destructive power of the necromancer is on full display, where every enemy that you kill is just another addition to your army, where the sheer number of units on screen is very impressive. And it does also have a natural reason to explain the roguelite structure of this, which is something that I love in this genre.
But even if I fall, death will not stop me.
The title that has to be the most impressive is Astro Ascent, one that draws upon astrology and the zodiac signs, which is a mythos that I love. The personifications of the 12 signs are the bosses in this game, split over 4 worlds with a box standard story, where heroes have to escape an astral prison known as the Garden. There are 4 playable characters, which promises unique playstyles, from a dual dagger-wielding assassin to a wizard that can conjure up ethereal guns, all wrapped up with some of the most impressive pixel art that I have seen. It did also have a massively successful Kickstarter campaign, raising almost 5 times its target, so I do hope that that gives them the runway that they need to make this awesome. This comes to us from developer Hibernian Bookshop, who also made the 2D Souls-like title, Dark Devotion, which is totally worth a play, where the pedigree alone carries some weight and has me interested in this. Dark Souls meets Tetris, but a roguelite sure is a fascinating description, so of course, Root River did get my attention. You are allowed to manipulate and move the tiles that you are on, even to the extent of actually damaging enemies, although that does seem a little cheap, so I do wonder how the developers will account for that. Fantastic character design and grimdark world rounds off the package, where I've been excited for this ever since it was revealed, so fingers crossed it turns out good, taking the #1 spot. For more roguelite titles, watch these videos and I will see you after the jump.